The sky above Cathera Prime burned red. Commander Hannah pressed her back against the crumbling wall and checked her weapon. The plasma rifle hummed with deadly energy. Round her, the mining colony that had been her home for 3 years was dying. Commander. We need to move now, Sergeant Doyon shouted over the screaming of alien fighters overhead. The transport leaves in 10 minutes. Hannah nodded. She knew the drill. Get to the landing pad. Load the civilians. Get off this doomed rock before the Vorthok Empire turned it into space dust. Simple. Clean. Military. The problem was that nothing felt simple anymore. She led her small squad through the burning streets. Buildings that had housed families just yesterday were now twisted metal and broken dreams. The Vorthok had been efficient. They always were. The most feared conquering species in the galaxy did not waste time on mercy. Right. There Doyon pointed. To a group of colonists huddled behind an overturned vehicle. Survivors. Hannah counted quickly. 12 people. 3 children. 1 elderly man who looked ready to collapse. They could make it to the transport. They had to. Move out, she called to the civilians. Stay low. Keep quiet. We'll get you out of here. The elderly man stumbled. The young woman caught his arm. I can't run anymore, he whispered. You canna, said firmly. You will. We don't leave anyone behind. Those words would come back to haunt her in ways she could never imagine. The transport landing pad was 2 blocks away. It might as well have been on another planet. Vorthok ground forces had set up patrol routes between the survivors and safety. Hannah had seen their work before. They were not interested in prisoners. She led the group through side streets and collapsed buildings. The smell of smoke and death filled the air. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear the sound of plasma weapons and human screams. Commander. Her communications officer Wanho whispered into his headset. Transport pilot says he's got maybe 5 minutes before he has to lift off. Vorthok air support is closing in. 5 minutes. Hannah looked at her group of survivors. They were moving as fast as they could, but fast was not going to be enough. Tell him to wait, she said, ma'am. If we wait too long, nobody gets off this rock. What? Tell him to wait. They made it 1 more block before everything went wrong. The Vorthok patrol came around the corner without warning. 6 alien warriors in black armor, their faces hidden behind death masks that had terrified the galaxy for generations. They carried weapons that could cut through military armor like paper. Down, Hannah screamed. Her squad opened fire, the street filled with the bright flashes of plasma weapons. The Vorthok returned fire with brutal efficiency. One of the colonists, a middle-aged man named Kehoe, fell screaming as alien energy burned through his chest. The battle lasted 30 seconds. When it was over, for Vorthok lay dead. But so did Kehoe and one of Hannah's soldiers, young Private Minho, who had just turned 21 last week. We have to move, Doyon said, his voice tight with pain. He was holding his left arm, which hung at an odd angle. 2 minutes, Wanho reported. Transport is warming engines. That was when Hannah heard it. A sound that cut through the noise of battle and burning buildings. A child crying. She turned toward the sound. There, in the rubble of what had been a small apartment building, she saw them. A woman with blue-tinged skin and pointed ears lay motionless, her body twisted at an impossible angle. Next to her, a young girl with the same blue skin, but human-shaped. Eyes was crying softly. The girl was maybe 8 years old, maybe 9. Her clothes were torn and bloody. One leg was bent wrong, but she was alive. Altarian, Doyon said quietly. Mixed blood. Akana knew what that meant. The girl's mother had been Altarian. Her father human. In the eyes of both species, she was neither. She was nothing. We have to go, Wanho said urgently. Transport is lifting off, with or without us. Hannah looked at the girl. Mixed blood. Half-breed. The words that both species used for children like her were not kind. The Altarians called them broken vessels. Humans called them genetic dead ends. Neither species wanted them, Commander Doyon said, understanding what she was thinking. We can't. The transport is already overloaded. Medical supplies are limited. She's badly hurt. The girl looked up at them with golden eyes that held too much pain for someone so young. She tried to speak but only managed to whisper, "Please." That one word cut through Hannah like a blade. "1 minute," Wanho reported. "I can hear the engine spooling up." Hannah made her decision. She had been making decisions all day. Tactical decisions, strategic decisions, life and death decisions that any military commander had to make. But this was different. She walked over to the girl and knelt down beside her. "What's your name?" "Minji," the girl whispered. "Minji, I'm Commander Hannah. I'm going to get you out of here." "Commander, no," Doyan said. "Think about this. She's mixed blood. Neither species wants her. She's taking up space that could save a full human." Reached down and lifted Minji into her arms. The girl was lighter than she expected. To light. She had been starving even before the attack. 30 seconds, Wanho called. Hannah started running. Behind her, she could hear her squad and the surviving colonists following. The girl in her arms was warm, but still too still. "Minji," she said as she ran, "stay with me." Da-da-da-da. Transport pad was just ahead. The ship was already lifting off the ground, its engines roaring. The pilot had waited as long as he could. "Wait," Hannah screamed. "Wait." The transport settled back down. The loading ramp was still open. Hannah could see Captain Tiemann standing in the doorway, his face grim. "Move, move, move," he shouted. They made it aboard just as Vorthok fighters screamed overhead. The loading ramp closed. The transport lifted off, leaving the dying colony behind. Hannah looked down at the girl in her arms. Minji's golden eyes were closed, but she was still breathing. Barely. "Medical Bay," Hannah said. As they flew away from Cathara Prime, Hannah did not know that her decision to save one mixed-blood child would change the galaxy. She only knew that when she looked into those golden eyes. She had seen something that made her human heart rebel against cold logic. She had seen a person who deserved to live, and sometimes that was enough. The refugee ship Prometheus was not built for comfort. It was a cargo hauler that had been quickly converted to carry people instead of mining equipment. The corridors were narrow. The air recyclers worked overtime. The medical bay was far too small for the number of wounded. Dr. Jinwoo had been working for 18 hours straight. His hands shook as he sealed another plasma burn. Around him, the wounded lay on makeshift beds, metal tables, and even on the floor. The smell of burned flesh and disinfectant filled the air. Dr. Nurse Yoonji called from across the room. "We're running low on synthetic blood, and the pain medication is almost gone." Jinwoo nodded grimly. He had been expecting this. Too many wounded, not enough supplies. The mathematics of survival were simple and cruel. In the corner of the medical bay, on the only real medical bed, lay the mixed-blood girl that Commander Hannah had brought aboard. Minji, she was connected to machines that beeped softly, keeping her alive. Her chest rose and fell with mechanical rhythm. "She's using our last blood synthesizer," Jinwoo said quietly to Yoonji, "and half our remaining medical supplies." Yoonji looked uncomfortable. "The commander ordered us to save her." "The commander is not a doctor." "I am." Jinwoo walked over to look at Minji's readings. The girl was stable, but barely. Her injuries were severe: internal bleeding, fractured bones, trauma to her organs. In a fully equipped hospital, she might have a chance. Here, with limited resources, she was dying slowly. "Doctor," a voice said. "Behind him, we need to talk." Jinwoo turned to see a group of colonists standing in the doorway. He recognized them, Sungmin, who had run the colony's communications center, Jisoo, a mining engineer, Youngho, a teacher. All of them had lost everything. On Cathara Prime. "This is a medical facility," Jinwoo said. "You cannot be here." "That thing is taking up space that could save real people," Sungmin said, pointing at Minji. "My daughter is lying on the floor with a broken arm because you gave the only medical bed to a half-breed. The child has a name," Jinwoo said quietly.
What?
"That child is not human," Jisoo said. "Look at her blue skin, golden eyes. She's Altarian. Let her own people take care of her." "Her own people would have left her to die," Jinwoo replied. Maybe they had the right idea, Young-ho said. Resources are limited. We have to make choices. Save the ones who matter. Jinwoo looked at the group. Their faces were hard, desperate. They had lost their homes, their friends, their futures. They were looking for someone to blame, someone to sacrifice. I am the chief medical officer, he said. Medical decisions are mine to make, and you're making the wrong ones, Sungmin said. That half-breed is consuming medical supplies that could save 3 full humans. Maybe 4. She's a child. She's a mistake. A genetic dead end. Neither species wants her kind. Ginwoo felt his anger rising. Get out of my medical bay. Or what? Gisu stepped forward. You'll have us arrested? We're all in the same boat here, Doctor. And that boat is sinking. The argument might have continued, but at that moment Captain Temin entered the medical bay. The colonist stepped back. Temin was a big man with scars on his face and authority. In his voice, problem here? He asked quietly. Captain Sungmin said quickly, we're just discussing resource allocation. The medical supplies are running low, and we think priorities need to be reassessed. Taemin looked at Minji, then at the other wounded. Doctor, what's your assessment, Jinwoo? Hesitated. He was a doctor, not a politician. What he could see, the pressure building. The girl is stable, but critical. What? Her injuries are severe. Recovery will be long and resource-intensive. And if we focused those resources on other patients, we could probably save 3 or 4 others who are currently at risk. Taemin nodded slowly. I see the problem.
Captain.
Young-ho said, we're not being cruel, we're being practical. Save the people who can be saved, the ones who matter, and who decides who matters. A new voice asked. Everyone turned to see Commander Hannah standing in the doorway. She was still wearing her combat armor, still carrying her weapon. Her face was tired but determined, Commander Taemin said. We were discussing medical priorities, I heard, Hannah said. She walked over to Minji's bed and looked down at the girl. What's the conclusion? The conclusion, Sungmin said, is that she's taking up resources that could save real people. Human people. Hannah turned to face him. Real people? You know what I mean? She's mixed blood, half-breed. Neither species wants her kind. What? Her, Hannah said simply. You're being emotional, Jisoo said. You can't let feelings override logic. Logic, Hannah's voice was getting harder. What logic says that her life is worth less than yours? Species logic, Young-ho said. Genetic logic? Survival logic. We save our own first. She is our own, Hannah said. I made her our own when I carried her aboard this ship. You made a mistake, Sungmin said. And now we're all paying for it. Hannah looked around the medical bay. At the wounded humans lying. On makeshift beds. At the tired medical staff. At the colonists who wanted to throw a child out an airlock to save resources. Maybe I did make a mistake, she said quietly. But it wasn't bringing her aboard. Then what? Taemin asked. My mistake was thinking that surviving made us human. That getting off that planet alive meant we were still people worth saving. The medical bay fell silent. Only the sound of machines keeping people alive filled the air. Look at her, Hannah said, pointing at Minji. Really look? She's 8 years old, maybe 9. She watched her mother die. She was bleeding out in the rubble. And when I found her, do you know what she said? No one answered. She said, please, one word, please. A dying child asking for help. She's not human, Sungmin said weakly. No, Hannah. Agreed. She's not. She's something better. She's someone who said please when she could have said nothing. Someone who asked for help when she could have given up. Hannah walked closer to the group of colonists. And what are you? You're people who want to throw a child away to save yourselves? You're people who measure worth by species purity? You're people who think survival justifies everything. Being practical, Jisoo said. You're being animals, Hannah replied. And if that's what we've become, then maybe the Vorthok were right to wipe us out. She turned to face Captain Teeman. Captain, I'm posting a guard outside this medical bay. Anyone who tries to interfere with the girl's treatment will answer to me personally. Commander, Taman said carefully, I understand your position, but we have to think about the greater good. The greater good. Lehana laughed bitterly. Captain, if we can't save one child, what good are we? She looked around the room one more time. She's staying. The medical treatment continues. If anyone has a problem with that, they can take it up with me. As she left the medical bay, Hannah heard Sungmin mutter, This isn't over. He was right. It wasn't over. It was just beginning. The Altarian rescue fleet appeared on the Prometheus sensors like a gift from the gods. 12 sleek warships with hulls that shimmered blue-white in the starlight. They were beautiful. They were powerful. They offered hope. Captain Teeman stood on the bridge watching the lead ship grow larger on the main screen. Signal from the Altarian flagship communications officer, Wanho reported. Admiral Sunhei requests permission to come aboard, granted, Taman said. He looked around the bridge. Clean uniforms, everyone. We're meeting with allies. But when Admiral Sunhei materialized in the transport beam, Taman felt his hope begin to crack. She was tall and elegant, with the pale blue skin and pointed ears of her species. Her uniform was spotless white with silver trim. Everything about her spoke of perfection and control. Her eyes were cold as winter stars. Captain Taman, she said, her voice carrying the musical accent of her people. I am Admiral Sunhei of the Altarian Defense Force. We received your distress signal. Admiral, thank you for coming. You have wounded and civilians who need help. Soon he nodded. We are prepared to assist. However, we must discuss the terms of our aid. Terms. We'll take custody of all Altarian citizens aboard your vessel. They will be relocated to safe worlds within our territory. The humans, however, must find their own way. Taman felt the words hit him like a physical blow. Admiral, these people are refugees. They've lost everything. They need help. They are not our responsibility, son, he said simply. Altarian resources are for Altarian citizens. But some of them are mixed heritage. Part Altarian, part human. Something cold flashed in Sunny's eyes. There are no mixed heritage Altarians on this ship. There are only Altarians and humans. What about the children?
What children?
Taman realized they were talking about different things. The mixed blood children. The ones with parents from both species. Those are not children, son, he said. Those are genetic aberrations. Mistakes. The Altarian High Council has been very clear on this matter. In the ship's observation deck, Minji pressed her face against the viewport and watched the beautiful Altarian ships. She had been moved here from the medical bay so she could see the stars. Dr. Jinwoo said it would help her heal faster. She was still weak, but the machines were gone. She could breathe on her own now. She could sit up. She could walk a few steps before getting tired. Pretty ships, she said to Nurse Yoonji, who was checking her bandages. It's very pretty, Yoonji agreed. Your people make beautiful things. My people, the Altarians, your mother's people. Minji looked at her reflection in the viewport. Blue skin, golden eyes, pointed ears. She did look Altarian. Something felt wrong about calling them her people. Are they here to help us? She asked. I think so, Yanji said. They're talking to the captain now. But as the hours passed, Minji began to hear whispers from the crew. Angry whispers, worried whispers. The Altarians would only take their own people. The humans would have to find their own way. What about me? She asked Yoonji later. Am I Altarian or human? Yoonji looked uncomfortable. You're both, sweetheart. You're special. Special how? You're a bridge between two worlds. But Mingi had lived long enough to know that bridge was another word for different. And different usually meant unwanted. That night she could not sleep. She walked slowly through the ship's corridors, her legs still shaky but getting stronger. The ship was quiet, except for the hum of engines and life support. She was passing the conference room when she heard voices. Angry voices. She stopped and listened. Absolutely not, Admiral Sunhei was saying. The High Council has been clear. Mixed-blood individuals are not Altarian citizens. They are genetic pollution. They're children, Captain Taman said. Innocent children. They are mistakes that should never have been made. The mixing of species creates weakness. It dilutes the purity of both races. What about their rights? What rights? If they belong to no species, they are wanted by no one. They're genetic dead. Minji felt something cold and heavy settle in her chest. She pressed closer to the door. We have one such creature on this ship, Sun He continued. A female child, approximately 8 years old. She consumes medical resources that could save 3 pure individuals. Her name is Minji, Commander Hannah's voice said, and she's not a creature. She is an abomination, Sun He replied. It's a result of forbidden mixing. In Altarian space, such individuals are sterilized at birth and sent to work camps. Work camps? They serve a purpose. They do the jobs that pure individuals should not have to do. They live apart from decent society. They do not reproduce. Minji felt tears running down her face. She had heard enough. She walked away from the door as quietly as she could. The observation deck was empty and dark. She sat on the floor and looked out at the stars. The beautiful Altarian ships hung in space like glowing jewels. But now they looked different too. Her cold, distant, unfriendly. She thought about her mother. Yuna had been pure Altarian, beautiful and elegant like Admiral Sun He, but she had fallen in love with a human man named David. They had been happy for a while. They had made Minji together, but her mother had been cast out from Altarian society. Her father had been rejected by human colonies. They had ended up on Cathara Prime, a frontier world where nobody asked too many questions about mixed families. Now, her mother was dead. Her father was missing, and the galaxy was making it clear that there was no place for someone like her. Minji? A voice said behind her. She turned to see Commander Hannah walking into the observation deck. What are you doing here? Hannah asked gently, looking at the stars. Hannah sat down beside her. Can't sleep? I heard them talking, the Altarian Admiral. She said, I'm an abomination. Hannah was quiet for a moment. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am a mistake. Why would you think that? Because nobody wants me. The Altarians say I'm polluted. The humans say I'm alien. Maybe it would be better if I just died. Hannah turned to face her. Minji, look at me. The girl looked up with her golden eyes full of tears. Value isn't something others give you, Hannah said. It's something you carry inside. You, Minji, have more value than all their pure bloodlines combined. How do you know? Because I've seen what pure looks like. Seen Altarian purity. And human purity. And you know what? Pure is cold. Pure is empty. Pure is afraid of anything different, Hannah pointed out at the stars. But you're not pure. You're mixed. You're complicated. You're the best of both worlds, not the worst. The Admiral said I'm genetic pollution. The Admiral's wrong. You're not pollution. You're possibility. You're proof that different species can work together. You're hope. Minji wiped her eyes. I don't feel like hope. Hope never does, Hannah said. Hope just feels like trying to stay alive one more day. Outside the viewport. The Altarian ships continued their cold dance among the stars. But inside the observation deck, something warm was growing. Something that would change everything, Commander Minji said. Yes, thank you for saving me. Thank you for being worth saving. The next morning, the negotiations would continue. The Altarians would make their final offer. Captain Temin would make a decision that would echo through history. But for now, in the quiet darkness of space, a human woman and a mixed-blood child sat together and watched the stars. And in that moment, the galaxy became a little less cold. The final meeting took place in the cargo bay. Admiral Sun He stood with 6 of her officers, all of them perfect examples of Altarian purity. Their uniforms were spotless. Their faces were cold. Her decision was final. Captain Temin faced them with his senior staff. Commander Hannah stood beside him. Dr. Jin Woo was there. So was Chief Engineer Bunji. They all looked tired. They all looked desperate. The terms are simple, Admiral Sun He said. We will take custody of all pure Altarian citizens. We will provide them with safe passage to designated worlds. The humans will receive basic supplies and star charts to the nearest human colony, and the mixed-blood individuals, Taman asked. They are not our concern. They may remain with the humans or be disposed of as you see fit. Disposed of? Dr. Jin Woo stepped forward. You're talking about children. I am talking about genetic mistakes, Sun He replied. Organ will regressive or why Mixed blood individuals weaken both species. They are not welcome in Altarian space. Then we'll take them with us, Hannah said. That is your choice, but understand this. The mixed blood individuals will never be accepted by either species. They will live as outcasts. They will die as outcasts. It would be kinder to end there. Suffering now, Taman felt sick. Admiral, surely there's another way. There is no other way. Pure bloodlines must be preserved. The mixing of species threatens the natural order. The natural order? Hannah's voice was getting louder. What's natural about abandoning children? What's natural about creating them in the first place? Sun He shot back. The mixing of species is forbidden by galactic law. It has been for centuries. Maybe. The law is wrong. The law protects civilized society from chaos. Without pure bloodlines, there is no order, no structure. No meaning. Hannah looked around the cargo bay, at the human refugees huddled together, at the few Altarian survivors who've looked ashamed, at the mixed blood children who stood apart from both groups. You know what she said quietly? I think you're right. Everyone looked at her in surprise. I think the mixing of species is dangerous, she continued. I think it threatens the natural order. I think it creates chaos, Commander Taman said, confused. And I think that's exactly what the galaxy needs, Hannah said, her voice getting stronger. Chaos, disorder, the kind of mixing that scares pure blood leaders. She walked over to where Mingy stood with the other mixed blood children. There were 5 of them, all young, all afraid, all unwanted. Come here, Mingy, she said. The girl walked over to her, limping slightly from her healing injuries. Tell me your name, Hannah said. Mingy Park, the girl said quietly. And what are you? I'm mixed blood, half Altarian, half human. Are you ashamed of that? Mingy looked at Admiral Sunhae, then back at Hannah. I used to be, but not anymore. Why not? Because you taught me that value comes from inside. It's not from what others think. Hannah smiled. That's right. She turned to face the Altarian officers. This child has more courage than your entire fleet. She is an abomination, Sun He said coldly. She is the future, Hannah replied, and that terrifies you. Hannah walked over to the ship's communication system. Open a channel to all ships, human and Altarian, Commander Taman said. What are you doing? Something that should have been done years ago? The communication system crackled to life. This is Commander Hannah of the Terran Defense Force. I am broadcasting on all frequencies. Around the cargo bay, portable screens flickered. On. The message was going out to every ship in the area. My name is Commander Hannah, she continued. I am human. And I am making a statement to the galaxy. She put her hand on Mingy's shoulder. This is Mingy Park. She is 8 years old. She is mixed blood, half Altarian, half human. And she has more value than every pureblood supremacist in this sector. Admiral Sunhae stepped forward. Turn off that transmission, Taman said, surprising himself. Let her speak, Hannah continued. For too long, we have let fear and prejudice define who has value. We have let species purity become more important than compassion. We have let the powerful decide who deserves to live. On the screens, Hannah could see crew members from both human and Altarian ships stopping to listen. But I am here to tell you that this child has value. Not because of her blood, not because of her species, but because she is alive, because she is brave, because she chose to keep fighting when the galaxy told her to die. Stop this, Sunny demanded. I will not stop, Hannah said, because someone needs to say what everyone knows but is too afraid to admit. The mixing of species is not a mistake. It is evolution. It is progress. It is the future. She looked directly into the camera. And anyone who stands with that future becomes part of something bigger than species. They become part of humanity. The transmission continued for another minute. Hannah spoke about courage and compassion, about the right to exist, about the power of choosing inclusion over exclusion. When she finished, the cargo bay was silent. Have doomed yourself, Admiral Suni said. That transmission will be heard across the galaxy. The High Council will demand justice. Then let them come, Hannah said. We'll be ready. You cannot fight the entire galaxy. We don't have to fight the entire galaxy. We just have to fight for what's right. Captain Taman stepped forward. Admiral Sunhai, I thank you for your offer. But we decline, Captain Dr. Jinwoo said, surprised. Are you sure? I'm sure we'll find our own way to safety. This is madness, Sun, he said. You're throwing away your only chance at survival. No, Taman said. We're choosing what to survive for. Admiral Sun-hee looked around the cargo bay one last time. Very well, your choice has been made. But know this. You will find no allies in your crusade. No species will support your mixed blood philosophy. You will die alone in the darkness. Maybe, Hannah said. But we'll die as humans, not as something less. After the Altarian officers left, the cargo bay remained quiet for a long moment. Captain, Chief Engineer Bounier said, what do we do now? Now we prove that being human means something, Temin said. We take everyone who wants to come with us. Human, Altarian, mixed blood. Everyone. And if they refuse, then we go alone. But we go together. Over the next few hours, something remarkable happened. The message spread through both fleets. Crew members began to choose sides. Some Altarians, disgusted by their leader's coldness, requested transfer to human ships. Some humans, inspired by Hannah's words, volunteered to help the mixed-blood children by the time the Prometheus broke away from the Altarian fleet, it carried more than just human refugees. It carried hope. It carried the future. It carried the beginning of something new. As they watched the beautiful Altarian ships disappear into hyperspace, Mingy stood beside Hannah on the observation deck. What happens now? The girl asked. Is now? We find out what humans are really made of, Hannah replied. Are you scared? Terrified? But sometimes being scared is the first step to being brave. Behind them, the stars waited, cold and distant and full of possibility. 3 weeks into their journey to the nearest human colony, the Prometheus was dying. Chief Engineer Boon Jae stared at the power readings on his console. The numbers were not good. Life support was running at 60%. The hyperdrive was offline completely, and the food synthesizers had stopped working 2 days ago. Captain, he said into his communicator, we need to talk. Captain Tiemann arrived in engineering, looking older than his 45 years. The stress of command was wearing him down. Dark circles under his eyes told the story of too many sleepless nights. How bad is it? Tiemann asked. Bad. We're running on backup power. The main reactor is overheating. If we push it much harder, we'll have a core breach. How long do we have? At current consumption, maybe a week. Less if we get into a fight. Tiemann nodded grimly. They had been running dark for 3 weeks, avoiding main shipping lanes and military patrols. But space was not empty, and their enemies were looking for them. What? About the other systems? Food synthesizers are completely dead. They're down to emergency rations. Water recycling is working, but barely. The medical bay is using too much power. Too much power for what? For keeping the wounded alive. It's especially the mixed blood. Kids, they need constant monitoring, special equipment. It's draining our reserves. Taman felt a familiar weight settle on his shoulders. Another impossible decision, another choice between survival and humanity. Have you discussed this with Dr. Jinwoo? He won't listen. Says his job is to save lives, not count power consumption. What? Commander Hannah has been standing guard outside the medical bay for 2 days. Ever since the colonists started talking about rationing medical care, Taman sighed. Show me the numbers. The data was clear and brutal. The ship was carrying 847 refugees. Too many people for the life support systems. Too many wounded for the medical facilities. Too many mouths for the remaining food. If we shut down non-essential medical equipment, Bounier said quietly, we could extend life support by another week. Maybe 2. Define non-essential. The advanced monitoring systems. The surgical equipment. The machines keeping the most critical patients alive. How many patients? 7 humans, 5 mixed-blood children. Timon closed his eyes. 12 lives against 847. The mathematics were simple. The morality was impossible. There's more, Boonjay said. We're being followed. What? Long-range sensors picked up 3? Ships about 6 hours ago. They're staying at maximum detection range, but they're definitely tracking us. Vorthok. Unknown. Could be Vorthok. Could be Altarian hardliners. Could be human military who think we're carrying stolen alien technology. Any of them good news? No, sir. Taman left engineering and walked through the ship's corridors. Everywhere he looked, he saw the cost of their decision to break away from the Altarian fleet. In the converted cargo bay that served as temporary housing, families huddled together on makeshift beds. Children played quietly with broken toys. Adults stared at nothing, lost in memories of homes they would never see again. In the dining hall, people lined up for increasingly small portions of food. The emergency rations were bland and nutritionally complete, but there was never enough. Fights had started breaking out over extra portions, and in the medical bay. Dr. Jinwoo worked miracles with failing equipment and dwindling supplies. Dr. Jinwoo, Taman said, entering the medical facility. Jinwoo looked up from a patient, young Altarian woman who had been injured in the original attack. Captain, what can I do for you? We need to discuss power consumption. I'm not shutting down life. Support equipment. The ship is dying, Doctor. We're running on fumes. Then find more fuel. Fix the reactors. But don't ask me to choose who lives and who dies. Someone has to choose. If we don't make hard decisions now, everyone dies. Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. Around them, the medical bay hummed with the sound of machines keeping people alive. In one corner, Mingi sat beside another mixed-blood child, a boy named Hyunwoo who had been badly burned in the evacuation. How many? Jinwoo asked finally. 12 critical patients. If we discontinue their advanced care, we can extend ship operations by 2 weeks, and if we don't, everyone dies in a week. Jinwoo looked at his patients. People who trusted him too. Keep them alive. People who had already lost everything except hope. I can't, he said. I can't choose. Then I'll choose, a voice said behind them. They turned to see Minji walking over to them. She was stronger now, able to move around without help, but she still looked fragile, too small for the weight she carried. Mingi, Jinwoo said gently, this is not your decision to make. Yes, it is, she said. It's my decision more than anyone's. She looked at Captain Taman. I heard what you said. 12 people using too much power. 5 of them are mixed-blood kids like me. That's not the point, Taman said. It is the point. You're asking Dr. Jinwoo to choose who matters more, humans or mixed-bloods, pure people or broken people. No one is broken, Jinwoo said. Then why are we even having this conversation? Minji asked. If no one is broken, why not just turn off the machines, keeping the humans alive? Why is it always the different ones who have to be sacrificed? The medical bay fell silent except for the beeping of monitors. I'll make it easy for you, Minji said. Turn off my machines. I volunteer. Absolutely not, Jinwoo said. Why not? I'm mixed blood. Neither species wants me. I'm taking up resources that could save real people. You are a real person, Taman said. Then prove it. Don't turn off any machines. Find another way. There is no other way. There's always another way. Commander Hannah taught me that. As if summoned by her name, Hannah appeared in the medical bay. Doorway. She had been sleeping in the corridor outside, making sure no one interfered with the patients. What's going on? She asked. They want to turn off the machines, Minji said. Save power by letting the wounded die. Hannah looked at Taemin and Jinwoo. Is this true? The ship is failing, Taemin said. We have to make choices. We've made our choice. We chose to save everyone. That choice is killing us. Then we die trying. Don't start throwing people overboard to lighten the load, Commander Taemin said. You're not thinking clearly. Thinking perfectly clearly. The moment we decide that some lives matter less than others, we become everything we're fighting against. A new alarm began sounding throughout the ship. Emergency lights flashed red. Over the intercom, Wonho's voice crackled with tension. Captain. To the bridge. We have incoming ships. 3 vessels closing fast. Taemin ran to the bridge, followed by Hannah and several others. On the main screen, 3 dark ships approached, like hunting wolves. Identification? Taemin asked. No response. To Hale's Wonho reported. But their weapon signatures match Vorthok design. How long until they reach us? 20 minutes? Maybe less. Taemin looked around the bridge. His ship was crippled. His crew was exhausted. His passengers were desperate. And now their enemies had found them. Options, he asked. We could surrender, Wonho suggested. Offer to turn over the Altarian refugees in exchange for safe passage. No, Hannah said. We don't trade people. We could jettison non-essential systems, Bunjay said. Lighten the ship. Try to outrun them. Non-essential systems like life. Support for the medical bay? Taemin asked. It would give us more power for engines. Taemin looked at the approaching ships. At his dying vessel. At the impossible choice between survival and humanity. Captain, a small voice said behind him. He turned to see Minji standing in the bridge doorway. She looked impossibly young and impossibly determined. I know what we have to do, she said. Minji, this is not your responsibility. Yes, it is. You're saved me because you believed I had value. Now let me prove it. She walked over to the navigation console. I know Vorthok ship designs. My father used to work on hybrid technology. I know their weaknesses. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we stop running. I'm suggesting we fight. I'm suggesting we win. Outside the viewport, the enemy ships grew larger. Prometheus had nowhere left to run. But sometimes the best place to find courage is when you have nowhere left to hide. Minji stood at the navigation console, her small hands moving across the controls with surprising confidence. Around her, the bridge crew watched as she pulled up technical specifications that most adults would find impossible to understand. Vorthok. Ships have a weakness, she said, pointing to a section of the enemy vessel's hull. Their shield generators are powered by the same system as their weapons. If you overload one, the other fails. How do you know this? Captain Taemin asked. My father worked on hybrid technology. He studied captured Vorthok ships. He used to show me the technical manuals. You were just a child. I was a child who paid attention. On the main screen, the 3 enemy ships continued their approach. Their dark hulls bristled with weapons. Their engines glowed with deadly purpose. Even if you're right, Commander Hannah said, we don't have enough firepower to overload their shields. Our weapons are nearly offline. We don't need weapons, Minji said. We need to get inside their ship. Inside? Taemin looked at her like she was insane. How? The same way the Altarians do it. We pretend to surrender. We let them board us, and we turn their own systems against them. Chief Engineer Bunye shook his head. That's suicide. If they board us, they'll kill everyone. Not if we're ready for them, Mingi said. Not if we know their weaknesses. What weaknesses? Vorthok boarding parties wear environmental suits. The suits are connected to their ship's computer system. If someone with hybrid knowledge gets access to their network, they can overload the entire fleet. Someone with hybrid knowledge, Hannah said slowly. Someone like you. Someone like me. The bridge fell silent, except for the sound of alarms and approaching engines. It's too dangerous, Taemin said. You're just a child. I'm a child who's tired of being saved, Minji replied. I'm tired of being protected. I'm tired of being the reason people have to make hard choices. You're not a burden, Hannah said. Then let me prove it. Let me show you that saving me was worth it. Taman looked at the enemy ships, then at his dying vessel, then at the girl who had caused so much trouble and so much hope. What do you need? He asked. I need you to trust me, and I need you to make them think we're giving up. The next few minutes moved like a carefully choreographed dance. Taman ordered the Prometheus to power down its weapons. He broadcast a surrender message to the Vorthok ships, prepared his crew for boarding. But in the ship's computer core, Minji worked with Dr. Jinwoo and Buenji to prepare a surprise. You sure about this? Jinwoo asked as he helped her connect to the ship's systems. I'm sure, she said. My father taught me about hybrid networks. Human creativity combined with Altarian precision. It's more powerful than either species alone. More dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. The Vorthok ships docked with the Prometheus-like predators, claiming their prey. Boarding ramps extended. Armored warriors marched into the human vessel with weapons ready. They expected to find defeated refugees. Instead, they found something they had never encountered before. They found humans who refused to stay defeated. The battle was brief but decisive. The Vorthok warriors were skilled fighters, but they were not prepared for the desperate creativity of people who had nothing left to lose, and in the computer core, Minji did something that would be talked about for generations. She connected her hybrid mind to the Vorthok network and showed them what mixed blood intelligence could accomplish. The enemy ship systems began to fail one by one. Weapons offline, shields down, life support fluctuating. The Vorthok warriors found themselves cut off from their command structure, their equipment failing, their carefully planned assault turning into chaos. It's working, Bunjie said, watching the readings. Their entire fleet is going offline. How are you doing this? Jinwoo asked Minji. I'm thinking like both species at once, she said, her eyes closed in concentration.
I'm using intuition.
Altarian logic. They don't know how to defend against something they've never seen before. But the effort was taking its toll. Minji's face was pale with exhaustion. Her hands shook as she maintained the connection. I can't hold it much longer, she said. Help is coming, Hannah said from the bridge. New ships on sensors. It's an Altarian fleet. But these were not the same cold ships that had abandoned them weeks ago. These vessels flew alongside human cruisers in a formation that spoke of cooperation rather than conquest. This is Admiral Yojin of the Altarian Defense Force. A voice crackled over the communications. We received your transmission, Commander Hannah. We're here to help. The rescue fleet made short work of the disabled Vorthok ships. When the battle was over, Admiral Yojin came aboard the Prometheus to meet the crew that had changed everything. She was different from Admiral Sunhei, younger, warmer. When she looked at Minji, she saw not an abomination but a bridge between worlds. Your message spread across the galaxy, she told Hannah. It reached people who had been waiting for someone to say what they felt, but couldn't express. What message? That value comes from within, that diversity is strength, that the mixing of species is not corruption, but evolution. In the weeks that followed, the survivors of the Prometheus were welcomed to New Terra Colony. It was a world where humans and Altarians lived side by side, where mixed-blood children were celebrated, rather than hidden, where difference was seen as an asset rather than a flaw. Minji found herself at the center of something she had never expected. She became a symbol, a living example of what cooperation between species could achieve. Standing before the Galactic Council 6 months later, she spoke words that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of itself. They called me worthless because I was mixed, she said to the assembled representatives. They said I was pollution, mistake, a genetic dead end. She paused, looking out at the faces of a dozen different species. But the human who saved me didn't see mixed blood. She saw a person bleeding who deserved to live. She saw someone worth saving not because of what I was, but because of who I could become. That's what makes humanity dangerous to empires built on separation. They refuse to accept that anyone is worthless. They see potential where others see problems. They choose inclusion when others choose exclusion. And when you save someone who the galaxy has thrown away, you don't just save them. You save the part of yourself that believes in hope. You save the part of civilization that remembers what it means to be alive. The speech sparked a revolution. Across the galaxy mixed heritage. Beings flocked to human space. Genetic outcasts and social rejects found welcome in colonies that valued diversity over purity. Admiral Hannah, now commander of the Terran Inclusion Fleet, watched the ceremony from the back of the chamber. When Mingy finished speaking, their eyes met across the room. The girl who had been left to die in the rubble of Cathara. Prime walked over to the woman who had refused to leave her behind. "Thank you," Mingy said, "for showing me that I had value." "Thank you," Hannah replied, "for showing me what that value could accomplish." They stood together in the chamber where the future of the galaxy was being decided. A human commander and a mixed-blood diplomat. A woman who had chosen compassion over protocol, and a child who had grown into someone who changed worlds. Outside the great windows, ships from a dozen species flew in formation. Human vessels alongside Altarian cruisers. Mixed crews working together toward common goals. The galaxy was learning what humanity had always known. When you lift someone up who has been cast down, you don't just save them, you save everyone. You save the future itself. And sometimes, that's the most human thing you can do.